Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Senator Thurl, Senator Mbalu, Ambassador Robert F. Godek, PS Devolution and Planning, DG NCPD, my colleagues from WHO. I want to really also take this opportunity to acknowledge the Canadian High Commissioner, the Swiss Ambassador, all champions of women's issues, and perhaps some of the most feminist ambassadors present here who really are strong on that agenda. So it's really an honor to have you here with us. I do want to acknowledge the private sector which is present here, and I do want to acknowledge an important and emerging partner to UNFPA and the UN family, the Lions Club group of Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps what Senator Ethuru just said rings an important bell, a very important bell, because Kenya is amongst the 10 most dangerous places for a woman to give birth. That is a fact. I'm not making that up. And I want to acknowledge the presence of KBC here, which is actually streaming this live. So my statement has gone live into many drawing rooms at this moment. We need to change that. And the only way we can change that is by the sustained efforts of those 15 county governors who have taken a pledge by signing a communique to end maternal deaths in their county. The leadership, the vision that the First Lady has provided is exceptional. But that pledge cannot really culminate into affirmative action without the parliamentarians on board. So perhaps let me draw you to a group called Sarabi. Sarabi are a band who come from the slums of Mathare. And I challenge them to come up with something that would actually draw people's attention to the dire situation of maternal health in Kenya. So here they are. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to recite statistics. The facts are in front of you. Honorable members of parliament, if there is one thing that you can actually mark your legacy with, is this. This is something you can change. Keep in mind, every time a complication takes place and a woman is about to give birth, there is a certain amount of time which is spent in taking that decision to take that woman from the care of a traditional birth attendant to the care of a facility. The family has to mobilize money to do that. They mobilize the money, they get her to a facility. At the facility, she dies. Once she dies, Kenyan customs kick in. Kenyan traditions kick in. The family has to go out and get further indebted by taking a loan of 250 to 300,000 Kenyan shillings to bury her. So what is happening is, invariably, that figure of 6,000 to 8,000 that our honorable speaker mentioned of women dying a year is affecting 6,000 to 8,000 families, 6,000 to 8,000 communities. It's affecting the nation simply because it is pushing that family deeper into poverty. Imagine those 5 or 6 children that she already has. Those 5 or 6 children lose out on the care of a primary caregiver. There is nothing that can replace a mother. I think all of you can agree with that. Those 5 or 6 children will drop out of school. The daughters will perhaps be circumcised, cut, and married off quickly, so they will no longer remain a burden to the family. The children will drop out of school. Malnutrition will set in. So what is happening is just that death of one person in a family is having a multiplier effect in the community and really pushing it. So it is, when I said that Kenya is amongst the 10 most dangerous places in the world for a woman to give birth, it's a fact. It's not based on fiction. It's not a myth. But what we have is a country which is so dynamic. On the 27th of August, when we had our meeting with the governors, it was incredible. Social media in Kenya actually made an impression on 30 million people. It has the power of change. It has a youthful population. This band that you heard were a group of young men. And I didn't dictate the song to them. They came up with it. They went out there and saw the reality of it and put it back there. We need the masses. We need the youth. But nothing can replace the leadership of parliamentarians and county authorities that can really help to roll this out. I have to acknowledge certain critical countries that are actually helping to make that change. Kenya itself, the Kenyan government, has a fabulous policy of free maternal health care in place. It has a first lady, it has a cabinet secretary for health, it has members of parliament, it has a speaker who've become champions of safeguarding maternal and child health. We have DFID, we have USAID, we have Danida, we have the World Bank, the German cooperation, JICA, just to name a few. The private sector increasingly kicking in. Philips, the group of Safaricom, everybody that is coming together with the H4 group of the UN system, WHO, UNICEF, UNAIDS, UN Women, the World Bank, and UNFPA, the commitment from the UN side, from the UN resident coordinator, Nardos Bekele Thomas, is clear. We have to make a difference to change that. And we are in that position to change it because we have the technology, we have the know-how, we have the capability of changing it. But there is an important thing to keep in mind. Unless we put the spotlight on the adolescent girl in Kenya, who are the drivers of this country's economy just as men are, that change is not going to happen. Unless we make sure that she does not go through the barbarity and the ravages of female genital mutilation or early marriage, that change is not going to happen. Because both of these are contributors to maternal deaths. And what are we doing? The sheer scale of these events happening is also exposing a number of young women to gender-based violence, none of which is acceptable. none of it goes contrary to our traditions and norms of chivalry, of kindness, of our religious values. And you must be wondering, who's this man to talk about this when he comes from India, which probably has gender-based violence issues which have skyrocketed and out there. That's a fact. But what is also a fact is that in India, they recently eradicated polio. A country which has never seen it eradicated recently did. It wasn't the national government that helped make it happen. It couldn't. The national government is a national government. What made it happen was the governors, was the member of parliaments at the state, and civil society. I really believe that we are at that cusp, at that turning point, ladies and gentlemen, where that change is happening. I think 2014 is auspicious. The level of political commitment, the level of international donor community that has really come together around this, civil society organizations that are really coming together to push this. I have never seen, I have lived in Kenya before while working in Somalia, so much of attention by media in terms of putting the focus on adolescent girls, putting the focus on maternal health. I think we are at a good place to make that change. So I would really urge honorable members of parliament that this is that moment of change where we can actually enhance and change and improve human development in Kenya. That will be what will guarantee the future prosperity, growth, and happiness of this great country. I would want to conclude in the words of George Bernard Shaw, who said, "The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, and we have promises to keep, and miles to go before we sleep, and miles to go before we sleep. We can change the maternal health situation in Kenya." Thank you.